Welcome to Nostalgia Pilot, a mobile fighter G Gundam podcast that will show them that Neo China is the one to rule outer space. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Spence.
And we're here to talk about G Gundam Episode 3, Beat the Dragon Gundam. And this is certainly China.
But does he beat it, though? I mean...
no, he literally ends with a stalemate. So...
Yeah, I love how... I was telling Spence this, I was like, I love how the American Gundam had to, be beaten within an inch of its life because it shattered its arm and had to bow out of the fight, but it was allowed to fight him later. Mm-hmm. But China's Gundam can fight it to a stalemate because it has a scorpion tail. Oh
no, it has a scorpion ponytail.
Yes, scorpion ponytail. I want that. When I am a Gundam fighter, that is one of the features I want.
Okay, it's jumping ahead a little bit, but that Gundam had some hardcore Wu Fei vibes going on.
Yes, that is really definitely the prototype Dragon Gundam that they were like, this one is cool, and we wanted to draw more of it, so one of the 5 next Gundams is also going to be this Gundam.
It has the same color palette and everything.
Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it had a mishap firing to Earth because it's in the hand of the Kokuryu gang.
Wait,
who are terrorizing the countryside.
I need some explanations about the opening mystery, because we actually start with the announcer, which is fantastic, and he whips off his eye patch proving he doesn't need it and all that. That's fantastic, great. Mm-hmm. But he
literally Wolverine.
In the dub, which is what I watched this time, I didn't turn on the subs for some reason. He's like, and now we're going to meet the Chinese pilot, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's a secret. And then we literally cut to a scene where there's a guy going, Sai, you must pilot this Gundam. And you're like, what? Why did we have this 30-second secret?
Because Domon thinks that the gang leader who stole the Gundam is Sai. And even though the audience can tell that it isn't, they're going to lean into that for 10 minutes.
So basically what happened was Domon got the audio version, and so he didn't see the silhouette like we all did.
Ah, right.
Yeah, he didn't see it on YouTube. He didn't see the trailer on YouTube.
It's because Rain wasn't there to set up his TV.
And the thing that really starts to come clear in this episode is that the original Japanese audio and the dub are very different in places.
Yeah, and there are some notable wording choices and stuff that I did eventually turn on the subs. I do recall that now, because there was some things like they call Domon the notorious Gundam pilot versus the great Gundam pilot at one point, and I thought that was an interesting. It's the Shaolin guys when they're like, there's the notorious Gundam pilot versus the great Gundam pilot. That was an interesting approach.
There's a lot of different changes throughout the series, particularly with a lot of the Gundam names. Because Walmart got very upset when they were got the figures to sell toys for Gundam Wing, and they demanded editing rights.
Yeah, I remember that back in the 90s. It was a big deal because it was one of the first times a major distributor or a major store in America was just out and out carrying Gundam kits and figures. Mind you, they haven't done it since, but...
Oh, that's weird. That's almost like a reverse He-Man or reverse Transformers, where they try to take an animated property and then force the toys in line with it, as opposed to being like, we're just building this to sell the toys. Although I guess in Japan, really, it is about the kits, right?
Absolutely. If you see an awesome Gundam in any Gundam show, it's because they want you to buy that model kit, that model kit.
Yeah, I wonder if it also speaks to the age they thought these things were playing to, because maybe I could see it, especially back in the 90s, they would assume, oh, it's a cartoon, it's for younger kids, whereas I would say this is more, young teen kind of.
I think G Gundam does tend to skew a little younger than other Gundam series, though, because it's a lot less serious, it's a lot more cartoony. We do have Sai Saici being this much younger character as well.
Yeah,
they're building up in this episode.
He's definitely a brat. Like, he is super douchey through this whole episode.
Yeah. I there was a point where I was just like, why is this kid manspreading in the middle of the road? In order to get a ride somewhere. I mean, it's super effective because nobody wants to hit a child. But also, what? And then he just goes and keeps escalating the situation and manipulating Domon in the way only a 10-year-old can.
But could he have been hit by Domon? Because that's a hover car.
It depends on how much elevation it had.
It also depends on like how it's hovering, because if it's like shooting out a high-powered blast of like superheated air, that's probably also not going to be good for him.
Crispy Gundam pilot.
What I love though, because like we're watching this and I'm like, so this is the Chinese. This is the most Chinese of the Chinese because this guy has a cape, but it's not just a cape. It's a full-on fighting lion. Like the dancing lion.
Yeah, it's a lion head cape, and then all of his bandits who look like they're like 19th century warriors, like ride around in this amusement park ride of a roller coaster dragon thing, like mech that all connects together.
So I think we've skipped way ahead, and we missed a lot of the prologue to Domon meeting up with this kid.
Okay.
So we might need to backtrack a little bit.
So it starts in space, where we do get the establishing shot of Neo China, which is just like a mountain range in space with like a ring around it.
It's Asgard. It's Asgard. We basically established that they live in Asgard.
Yeah. Okay, it looks exactly like the movie version of Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100%.
Or the floating city from Neverending Story.
Yeah. And Sai Saici gets sent to Earth. And he represents China. Meanwhile, in the Chinese countryside, Rain and Domon are just kind of there, and they get caught up in like a bandit attack, and they do like kung fu against them.
There's my one major complaint about this episode is that there's way too much broad coincidence, because it seems like they're just kind of wandering the countryside and they bump into the other Gundam, and this, like, that just seems so, like, I understand it's cartoon, whatever, it happens, but it seems so ridiculous that they just stumble into it while they're traveling. And then on top of that, the whole thing with Sai being in the road, like, this is a quasi post-apocalyptic world, really. Like, they keep underlining how everything's a wreck and a mess. Like, you see a dude lying in the road, you're either going with, this is an ambush, they're making me stop so they can jump me, or this is some dude who's wasted on vodka and I should just dodge around him and get out of here as quickly as possible.
It's like in the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, where he's like, I smelled you a mile away. I smell the ambush. Like, it's like he just assumes that if he runs across other people in this world, they're just terrible human beings. Especially on the road. Like, it's different it'd be different if it was in the city where you can see like families or kids and things trying to survive. But this is just some random Chinese dude with a wok on his back, which is racist.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well, then we get into some food wars territory, because I mean, any good chef will travel with their own knives or their own wok or their own charcoal grill.
That would be amazing if his version of a Gundam fight was just an episode of Chopped.
Well, that's the thing that we're going to see in all of these Gundam pilots, is that they take like the one or two most notable like racial caricatures of each of these countries and combine them into a person, which is why
Chibity's a boxer.
Chibity is like a cowboy who's also a boxer.
Yeah.
And why Sai Saici is a Shaolin monk who is also a chef.
So this is another one of those episodes where I start wondering what the implications are. Like, Sai's kind of a liar and he's really pushy, but he's also the one who's kind of left on equal footing with him in the end, whereas America gets defeated, like on equal footing with Domon, I mean. And I wonder if that's all a commentary on China, or is that just part of the characterization? Like, I sometimes wonder where that line is. But I do want to, before we get ahead of ourselves, I want to loop back to the gang, because as Hugh pointed out, they're all driving these weird bumper car rides, and they clearly wanted to get as much use out of those frames of animation because we're clearly never going to see them again. So there's a lot of repeating animation. This is the first time I really noticed it in the series. There's a lot of repeating frames. A lot of that fight is in still images that are like panned across or just kind of lingered on for a second. And then there's a bunch of work with the bumper cars where they're like swooping down from a hill or doing this weird connecting with each other thing. That's clearly just one frame of animation over and over and over again, like a couple of pieces.
Those bandits show up in like 3 fights, and they use the same animation in each fight.
Yeah.
And, one thing is, if they can come apart and individually travel around, then they should be able to do something like that during the fight. Because wouldn't it be more effective if you could also attack him with the main Gundam, but also have these little things running around, like shooting it with lasers? Or whatever attack they can do?
Yeah, them turning into a single train doesn't help them in any way. I don't know why they did it.
I honestly think they do it because it turns into a roller coaster ride for them, and they're all just thrill seekers who sideline as criminals.
Yeah, I was going to say when the fare has to go on to the next town, it's just easier to load them into the truck that way.
Exactly.
See, what we don't realize is actually Domon is the antagonist of this episode, because they were just trying to throw a carnival for those kids in that town, and he ruined it.
My headcanon, of course, is that these guys are the carnival rides for Troa Circus.
I mean, all you need is a clown. You've got a dancing lion.
Oh, he's got a clown.
And a roller coaster.
His clowns show up.
So remind me how this scene plays out, though, because I know he gets like captured, and then the dumbest thing happens with the dragon puppet.
So what happens is the bandits go off, and then Domon meets with Zuisen and Kayun, who are the two monks.
Though the bandits go off, but like Domon gets knocked out by the dragon cape or something. And that seems so weird to me because he gets overtaken by a piece of light, like, outerwear when he was dodging bullets 2 episodes ago.
There's a lot of stuff that happens in this series that you're going to be like, well, that person was just one because they're a better martial artist, even though they didn't do anything particularly impressive.
Yeah, like, don't forget, at the beginning of the fight with the bandits, they've set fire to part of the town, and Domon puts the fire out with his cape.
So his cape of invulnerability is gone.
Yeah, he launches himself into the fight and like wipes his cape like Batman and puts out the fire as he then begins to do his Chun-Li kicks.
Oh my god, the Chun-Li kick.
Oh, I absolutely marked that Chun-Li kick because I believe we are going to see that kick again at least 3 or 4 more times across the series.
Oh, it gets worse. Oh, it gets worse. We're just not even going to talk about the tornado attack.
This is one of the worst Gundam series for reused animation.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that.
Okay, so he gets knocked out by a cape, I guess. And then the Shaolin guys show up, and this turns into, I actually thought, a pretty funny little like piece of comedy.
Yeah, and this is where the misunderstanding is confirmed that Domon thinks that the dude in the lion head cape is Sai Saici.
Like, I love the fact, though, that they're like, would you please defeat him in a Gundam battle so he'll return to his ways? And Domon, even though he knows he's going to fight this guy, tells them no. Like they're not asking you to do anything that you're not going to do anyway.
No, they're literally asking him to do the thing that he traveled to China to do.
It's the classic reluctant hero thing. He can't be seen as too eager to do it. That's not the Japanese way or Neo-Japan's way. But then, so those 2 monks are freaking creepy. They start talking in unison. I'm like, did the Borg show up and assimilate the Shaolin monks? What's going on?
Well, there's just been a couple for so long that they finish each other's sentences.
I also love the fact that they're supposed to be Shaolin monks with the shaved heads and the forehead tattoos, but have the most egregious facial hair.
Yeah. Because they're literally like the last 2 Shaolin monks on Earth, because everyone else went into space. So no one's watching them.
They probably eat meat too, I'm sure. Like
they're like the Boston Red Sox of monks, where they allow their monks to have facial hair.
The thing I don't understand here is, what is Domon's travel plan? Because he landed in Italy, and then he went to New York, and then he went to rural China. Like, this is not a good travel. And now he's got to go, like, to France and Russia. And he's just going to zigzag across the earth.
He needs Europe to forget that he was in Spain or Italy because, he's still kind of infamous there. Both as, hey, you wrecked our plaza.
Because he blew up a church?
Yeah, and blew up the church. So he's giving some time for those hot zones to cool down.
I mean, let's be honest. He should have gone to the other 4 Gundam pilots before Neo America. Like they're all at least in the same spatial region. Like, you don't have to cross an ocean.
Yeah, they're all in the same hemisphere.
Honestly, I think if he were really smart, he would do the harder competitors first, and then let them get progressively easier, so that by the time he's defeated all of them, he's not fully winded because he only had to beat, Chibbity Crockett.
They could have at least taken a couple minutes to make a plot reason around it, because I mean, he is, trying to get that photo identified. So they could have been like, "Oh, here's the list I got to do in this order for some dumb reason." Yeah. But I think really, if we're honest with ourselves, in the end, we know that really it's just about what the best shipping rates Rain can get on a Gundam trying to ship that bad boy around. So where the discount is, that's where she's going to send them.
So after he fights these guys for the first time, and these 2 monks decide to hold Rain at knife point to get Domon to do his job as a Gundam fighter, he travels in the Core Lander, which leads to this little bit of comedy where Rain just politely goes, "Would you mind moving that knife from my neck?" And they're like,
and they both prostrate themselves, and they're like, "We're so sorry.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy." Oh God, it's probably one of the best bits of comedy in this episode. But this then leads to the man spreading of Sai Saici in the middle of the road. And
there's also some like Cowboy Bebop incidental music at this point.
Yeah, like I just wrote my notes, like that steel guitar in his theme for no good reason.
That's something you brought up too when we were watching it, Jason. Is you just really enjoyed the music, the incidental music.
Yeah, like the theme song is fine and the outro is fine, but like these interstitial bits of music, like when they're doing the fight, like when he gets to the town and he's doing the fight against the kung fu guys that are piloting the go-karts, it's this weird like industrial like electronic music with this offbeat with these 2 beats, and then as it goes, like it builds into actual battle music, which I thought was really interesting. And we only get it, I think, twice in the episode, and it's both times when he fights the kung fu guys, which I think is pretty dope.
So Domon picks up the kid, and he's like, "Well, I mean, I'm traveling a long way." "Great, I'm traveling a long way too." And then you see Domon actually working for his supper, which
yes,
I was like, "Oh yay, something that actually makes sense." Because the rest of it totally logical, except it's not.
Well, last time we saw him eat, it was forced in his face by a police officer who then trolled him later by giving another pizza.
So yeah, and then you learn that this kid is a little skilled for the road. So yeah, kind of useful, and so he deigns to accompany this child to find out where the gang is hiding out. I don't remember how he convinces Domon to take him with him, though.
He just sort of is in the Core Lander, and Domon cannot dislodge him.
Yeah, because remember, Domon goes, "How did you get in here?" I'm like, "It's a convertible."
The top's open.
Yes, fair. But at the same time, this is, again, a man who was able to deflect bullets 2 episodes ago. Bullets can move. I don't care how fast this kid's going. If he's able to perceive bullets moving, he could probably notice where
the thing about Sai Saici is, like, he moves so fast, he's only animated on the keyframes.
I remember why they ended up going to the hideout. So during this raid that they witness in whatever village they're in, somebody is able to steal Domon's hover car.
Can we just say, is there not keys, locks, touchpads, any form of...
Well, yeah, you know what? I absolutely had that thought previous to this, too, because who's leaving that Dragon Gundam without the friggin' keys locked? Like, did they just leave it under the mat inside? How does this work?
By the way, I love the key point of this episode is that it's just a GPS malfunction. Like, they launch this thing together, but somehow they get separated.
Google Maps boned them, and this is the episode.
All Sai Saici heard all the way down is rerouting, and
yeah, I guess maybe these guys are just really good car thieves, and the dragon car ride is like their repurposed minis.
Also, we don't see Sai Saici cook at all in this episode.
Yes, we do.
Does he cook he cooks the one time?
He cooks that one time while Domon is washing dishes.
Yeah, in a barrel, because they're in the 18th century for some reason.
Listen, if the world has become this Gundam playground, essentially, a lot of infrastructure is not going to work. And in rural China, there's not a lot of sewage systems. There's not a lot of public works for like running water and things like that. So yeah, they're going to have tried and true methods of cleaning things.
I just needed to have the Dragon Ball-esque scene of like Domon and Sai Saici in barrels over open fire taking a bath.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's how you know you're in a shonen episode is when 2 gentlemen share a ridiculously hot bath in barrels.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing the trend with these episodes, we get one major landmark for each nation. The bandits turn out to have their fort in the Great Wall of China, which I guess is fort-like somehow. Like
it's literally a fort, but it's also very long. So
yeah, like
did you?
Good job getting to the exact right place on foot.
And Sai points out, oh yeah, that's going to be really hard to break into. Like, my friends, you have a Gundam. I do not know that this is...
Well, they don't have a Gundam because the bandits stole the central part of it.
Well, yeah.
But I do love later when he gets the correlator back and he is challenged to a Gundam fight by Sai Saici. He jumps into the Gundam fight without his Gundam. It has to burst out of a mountain.
And it's like, how did Rain do it?
Yes, how did Rain have this underground...
Rain had a 60-man team, dynamite, drills, a 3-week project outline, like a budget, the whole deal. He's like, I gotta make wontons to make this, budget thing work. She's got a whole project outline going down.
Every episode, the Gundam has to, like, burst out of whatever, like, local landmark.
Oh god,
they're in. So
and the next one's France, so it's clearly going to have the Eiffel Tower as a party hat.
Yeah, clearly.
Okay, so
there's so much going on next episode.
Speaking of hitting on the nation like key point, so just to kind of skip forward through the fort thing, through a series of deceptions, Sai basically blames Domon for a bunch of things and uses that as a distraction to eventually get back into his Gundam.
Right.
And then he turns into a bowl of soup during his latex transformation. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It was very soup-like. That was very weird to me.
And his head had to physically be popped out of the latex.
I love how he also goes through that transformation seated, whereas Domon looks like he's got the worst constipation ever.
Yeah, he spends his entire transformation screaming. Like, anyway.
Also, we have to address, in this transformation, I really noticed that Domon is Japan's ass the way Captain America is America's ass.
He is Neo Japan's ass.
Yes.
Like, I also want to know why, like, this shows, I guess Saisachi's just a brick shit house of power, because he's casually talking through this transformation while Domon looks like he is going through the worst pain of all time. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, he is a Shaolin monk.
Also, kids are resilient as hell.
like, it's so amazing. Like, he's just literally sitting there and smiling, while Domon is literally dying from this transformation.
So, okay, on that note, though, here's my other thing. Are flags Chinese? Like, what's the, what?
So, there is a long tradition of flags used as signals in Chinese culture, especially on the Great Wall of China. During the day, when they could not use the flame beacons, they would use different flags. As a member of the Signal Battalion, this is history that I know. So...
Oh, no, that's actually very informative. Okay, that makes more sense, because he starts spitting out flags everywhere during their Gundam fight, and this distracts Domon somehow. He's like, too many flags! I feel like I'm at Six Flags or something. And then...
well, they're also flame flags, so they're creating that heat shimmer, which distorts vision.
Shooting lasers.
It was cool, but it really made me feel like I wanted to see the Death Scythe again. I was like, give me the laser scythe. That was cool. This is sort of like,
Yeah, you don't get a lot of beam weaponry in G Gundam. I mean, you do.
You do, but it's things that shouldn't be lasers that are lasers.
Flags.
No,
yeah, it was like laser flags.
Were they laser flags or were they flame flags? Because the way that they're animated, they look more like flames than lasers. And then I have questions about where the propane is being kept and how it's being pushed out. Like, I have a lot of mechanical questions about that.
Well, yeah, me too, because, like, how is he storing... Because he tosses out, like, 20 flags. Where is he storing these flags? He's got all of this highly flammable chemicals he's carrying around, however many more flags he's got.
Yeah,
One punch is wrong.
We only see 4 on his back when they show the Gundam itself. Like, there's the 4 knobs or the handles.
Right.
And like, so he could put 2 of those together to make one staff, which he does. But then where did the rest come from? Like,
okay, he's pulling them out of martial arts.
Okay, yeah, actually, you know what? I'm even going to go one step further with that, because during that fight, okay, so Domon focuses up and he kind of pushes past the whole flag thing, and then he thinks he has Sai all lined up, but then it turns out that it was like a hologram?
Yeah.
He thinks he's in front of him, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, this is definitely like sort of like he's a martial artist, so he can do after image speed things, maybe.
Because
like, it's a very shonen anime sort of.
Because ninjas are Asian too, I guess. Like,
well, it's like the part, like when you get to the part in Dragon Ball where people are so fast that they like can look like they're somewhere but also be somewhere else.
Right.
And you attacked my after image, and this is literally pulling from that.
I really wanted it also, by the way, the way this fight ends in the draw also pulls from that type of stuff, because there's the martial arts movie I love. It's called Tai Chi 2. It's where a kid is so good at Tai Chi that he has a sentient ponytail that he uses to fight people.
I literally just played a role-playing game the other day where I had living hair. And I was like, yeah!
So
I'm
like,
trapped up.
So I guess if you train in martial arts high enough and you have gorgeous enough hair, you can make it a lethal sentient weapon. Like,
so,
but also it's a robot. There's no reason it can't have moving hair.
Yeah.
True.
So interestingly, to me, the mystery of, despite the opening announcement, the mystery of this episode, who wasn't the pilot of the Dragon Gundam, it was how they were going, because I knew he was going to be a recurring character. We had way too much setup. It kind of, like, I don't know if it's going to turn into a team thing, or what's going to, like, I don't know what the back half looks like yet. But I definitely get the impression we're getting the Avengers together. We're having one-on-one fights that can't end in Domon really, like, killing them or crushing them too bad, because they need to come back. And there's only so many times that he can do the, Jibbity cricket thing. Yeah, well, even just break him but not quite destroy him, like that, that you can't do that too many times. So I was wondering, the mystery to me was, how are they going to have this come to a point where one of them isn't so defeated that they can have them come back, because it was so clear Sai was a recurring character. And so when they called it a draw, that was actually the answer to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they do have to find different ways of doing that for each of these next few episodes while they're introducing these recurring characters.
Rose bits.
And then the Shaolin guys show up and basically threaten to spank Sai and take him.
They're like, we are your serious uncles now.
Yeah.
No more Mr. Nice Guys.
I still want to know why they decided to stay. Like you literally could have just what is the difference between Shaolin monks on Earth and in space? Because wait for it, these colonies in space are just chunks of their country of origin with rockets on the bottom.
The thing that they said in the sub is that that a different temple runs things up in space.
Yeah.
And they had to swear fealty to them.
Because in the opening sequence with the announcer, one of the things I noticed was that they're like, and the humans left an uninhabitable Earth or a terrible Earth. And it's actually just them having strapped rockets to the backs of large swaths of land.
I don't know how that works. Seriously, Neo America is just Texas. They shot Texas into space.
I mean, if you had to shoot anything into space, Texas?
Of the states that you could shoot into space, I think Texas would be the most willing. Rhode Island
so it
would
could
be
really
easier,
be the Lone Star State.
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I just want to know, y'all couldn't have worked some stuff out. Although we do see echoes of that in Gundam Wing with Wu Fei's temple that blows up.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Really?
So we do see sort of some ideas here that they were working on that they kind of refined when they did Wu Fei.
Yeah.
But I think Sai Saichi's an interesting character. He's also kind of a little shit, but there's a lot going on.
At some point he's gonna have the boy who cried wolf issue where he lies so many times that maybe nobody believes him.
Well, now he's got his two uncles to keep him on the straight and narrow. So that sort of wraps up this episode. Do we want to do favorite parts?
Yeah, actually, my favorite part is Sai Saici related specifically because somehow we've gotten through this entire episode without mentioning that on the dub, every time he addresses Domon, he goes, "Hey, bro. Hey, bro." And at first I was like, wow, this is really annoying. And by the end of it, I just loved it because he had screwed Domon over so many times, but was still like,
still called him bro.
Yeah. Also, that scene where he betrays him is so great because he's just a hand pointing from behind a rock.
Hey guys, look over there. Look over there. See, I told you there was this guy scoping out your place. Or running through the whole hideout going, the prisoner has escaped.
Yeah, it was so fun. I'm like, what is stopping these goons from just cutting your hand off? These are supposed to be bad villains, and you're just like, psst, look over there.
Well, it's because Sai Saici could beat all these guys up by himself, but he just doesn't want to.
Also, why did
somebody else to do it?
How did Domon get caught? Oh gosh. That's my favorite part. I think I'm going to steal this from Spence. When Domon gets punched in the gonads. He's hanging from the ceiling and they show him getting punched. But when they cut from the impact, the guy is at the proper height where he can't punch Domon in the face. So he has to be punching him in the junk.
Well, I think you assume it's the solar plexus, but yeah, it's the junk. And then he gets wrapped up in a giant, cape.
Yeah, and the head of the lion cape eats Domon's head.
Yeah. and that guy's Domon refers to that guy as Sai Saici. He's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, the guy even says, what are you talking about? Oh, that was amazing. Oh, this show.
Sai Saici, I don't know her.
By the way, guys, for Jurd and Spence, as wonky and bonkers as this is, we're not even close to the craziest stuff. I think I've said this every episode, but it just goes bonkers. And it's great. It's one of my favorite series.
I do think that my favorite part is definitely that guy's gang of like B-list kung fu lackeys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Road Warrior and 36 Chambers had a baby.
Like there's just a guy in like the like hat with the horns on it, and he's carrying a bat. Like, you worked so hard on your aesthetic, and you just got kicked in the face. Like those are like, very traditional bandits. They are working through a heritage art form of banditry.
It did feel a little bit like a Warriors gang, like they were threatening to come out to play.
Oh man, this is like anime Warriors, isn't it? Like,
yeah, kinda. Very stereotypically overblown. Anyway, Spence, did you say what your favorite thing was?
My favorite thing actually was Domon actually decided to travel with Rain at the end of the episode. Because instead of saying, hey, I'll meet you in such and such place, he said, let's go. Like, they're going to travel together for once. Yes. So I thought that was pretty cool. But also the Borg monks, as creepy as they are, I thought it was hilarious. And apparently they're telepathic too, because that whole ending sequence, their mouths did not move. So either it's an echo of a conversation that they had and now they're just waving goodbye, or they're telepathic. And I prefer to believe the latter.
Well, either way, it was cheaper to animate.
Exactly.
Oh man. Oh, G Gundam. So good.
Okay, so thanks for watching along with us. You can, if you're in the US, you can watch G Gundam on Crunchyroll. You can find all of our show notes and links at nostalgiapilots.com. Find everything I do over at hughjodonald.com.
You can find everything I do over at Skinner.fm.
You can find everything I do at nerdswithvoices.com.
And you can find me at resonantmoon.com.
Okay, and join us next week when we'll be looking at G Gundam Episode 4, in which we go to Neo France.
Oh, I can't wait for this. The baguettes are going to be great.
These are baguettes.
Oh, wait. No, hold on. Spence.
What?
You're really the only one that can do this with me, but give me your one thing that you think is going to show up next episode. If we're going to France, what is the one stereotypical French thing?
Roses and air kisses.
I hope in my heart of hearts that this Gundam is a mime.
Oh my god! Oh man. Okay, no, if we're doing that, well, like I said, I want Domons to come out and have the Eiffel Tower as a party hat. But the other thing, I think the French Gundam should have a beret.
Oh, perfect.
Needs to have a beret.
Oh, man.
So until next week, hey, look, it's the Great Wall from the old days.
Hi, my name's Jim. J-I-M. An ordinary name. I'm an ordinary IT guy. But I work in a really interesting place. Information technology and giant monsters. This Kaiju Life. Look it up on Apple Podcasts or on the web at kaiju.libsyn.com.